Pretty much every country in Asia that doesn't have a Muslim majority has decriminalized homosexuality. Despite 87% of its population being Muslim, so has Indonesia, except that is in the tiny province of Aceh, where they practice Sharia law. There, if a man is caught holding hands with another man, he stands to get 100 lashes of the cane. Barbaric? I know. That said, I've got no idea how these two guys got away with it. Broadly speaking, the whole non-Islamic world has legitimized same-sex relationships, with the exception of a few countries still wallowing in Victorian prudery. Sadly, we happen to be one of them. Here's what our penal code says. It's like reading something from the Old Testament, which I suppose is no accident. Whoever voluntarily has carnal intercourse against the order of nature with any man, woman, or animal shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 10 years, and shall also be punished with a fine. If this law had existed before British times, the Sinhalese race wouldn't even be here. Remember Sinnabahu, the father of Vijaya, the progenitor of the Sinhalese race? Well, according to the Mahavamsa, he was the result of a sexual union his mother had with a lion. Be that as it may, what exactly carnal intercourse against the order of nature means was left to the imagination of judges. But history, even recent history, shows that judges interpreted this to include consensual sexual acts between consenting adults of the same gender. When the Penal Code was revised in 1995, Chandrika Kumaratunga and her Justice Minister G.L. Peiris had every opportunity to delete this odious provision from the law, which dates to Queen Victoria, literally to 1883. So what did they do? You guessed. They expanded its scope to include relationships also between women, consenting women. Here's what it now says. Any person, so that includes women, who in public or private commits any act of gross indecency with another person shall be guilty of an offence and shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 2 years. At that time, in 1995, it was only Neelan Tiruchelvam who had the courage to argue strenuously for decriminalization. Again, what exactly constituted an act of gross indecency was left to the imagination of the police and of judges. It's important to note in all these cases, the so-called acts of carnal intercourse against the order of nature and gross indecency include acts committed by consenting adults in the privacy of their bedrooms. The government had entered your bedroom. Now, do you know what the funny thing is? In a survey of more than 3,000 young men in 6 districts, randomly selected young men, more than 10% of them said that they were in a same-sex relationship. Fully 22% of them said that they had at some point engaged in sex with another male. That's more than 1 in every 5. By that yardstick, 1.5 million Sri Lankan men should now be behind bars. Finally, in 2023, one courageous parliamentarian, Premnath Dolavatha, an SLPP member of parliament, yep, you heard that right, had the courage to table a private member's bill to repeal those odious provisions of the Penal Code. To their enduring credit, not a single religious leader of note said anything whether for or against the bill. 3 people chose to challenge the bill at the Supreme Court, and the case was heard promptly before a bench comprising Chief Justice, the Honorable Jayanta Jayasuriya, together with Justices Vijit Malagoda and Arjuna Obesekara. Their 43-page judgment is as elegant a piece of argumentative writing as you're ever likely to read. You can download it from the link I've given at the bottom. Citing case law from India to South Africa to the UK and the US, and reviewing the meaning of human rights in the framework of our Constitution, the Supreme Court held that Premnath Dolavatha's bill was entirely consistent with the Constitution. Sadly, despite Ranil Wickremesinghe enjoying a massive majority in parliament, the bill was kicked under the carpet. It's now history. No one really seems to know what the NPP's stand on decriminalizing homosexuality is. In the run-up to the general election, Harini Amarasuriya said vaguely that the law ought to change, but she didn't go so far as to say that the NPP would actually change it.
ස්ත්‍රී පුරුෂ සමාජභාවය අනන්‍යතාවය මත වෙනස් කොට නොසලකිය යුතුයි කියන පදනමේ අපි ඉඳලා තියෙනවා මුල ඉඳන්ම. එතකොට විශේෂයෙන් සමරිසි සම්බන්ධතාවය නීතිමය වරද්දක් හැටියට අපේ දණ්ඩ නීති සංග්‍රහයේ තියෙන මේක අපේ රටෙන් ආපු නීතියකුත් නෙවෙයිනේ මේක බ්‍රිතාන්‍ය නීතිය වික්ටෝරියානු යුගයේ ආපු නීතියක්. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා මේක වෙනස් විය යුතුයි කියන තැන අපි ඉන්නවා.
Given that a bill to repeal the relevant sections of the Penal Code already exists, Premnath Bilavatta's bill, and given that the Supreme Court has already accepted its constitutionality, to get it passed through Parliament should take no more than a few weeks. Decriminalizing same-sex relationships, of course, is only the first step. The challenge of recognizing same-sex marriage still awaits us in the future. As of now, in Asia, such marriages are performed only in Thailand and Taiwan, although India, China, Laos, and Nepal all recognize same-sex unions. I asked Google, is Sri Lanka safe for gay travelers? Here's the reply I got. This can't be good for tourism.
Sri Lanka paradise.